Deputy Chief Harold Patel, Fred Zabel, Chief Kevin Niner, Chief Patrick Sweeney, Lisa Zavir, Sheriff David Schilling.
Alternate Rich Peters.
Thank you. Acting Chief Michael Gettings, Stephen Green,
Sergeant John Medlong for Mike Gettings.
thank you.
And
Chief
Steve Green,
Bruce,
sir.
pardon me? Steve Green,
Yes, I'm here.
Chief Bruce Elliott,
Here.
Beth Gatlin,
Beth Gatlin and Rebecca Heising are both on.
Chief Jim Rapicki,
Here.
Michael Dever,
Dave Marquardt in as alternate for Mike Dever.
okay, we have a quorum. Thank you. We have a quorum.
Chief Carroll, you still there?
Lyndhurst needs to pay their bills.
Probably. Oh, Chief Elliott is on the call, Nicole.
Mark, this is for now.
You're muted.
Did you guys copy any of that?
No.
Sorry.
Welcome to my world. Chief, you're okay. Now you're still muted. Now you're unmuted.
I know. I am calling into my phone, so I can keep the video muted. It's a well-oiled machine.
Do you want a motion to approve the minutes of August 13th, 2020?
I will make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second
Thank you.
that. Patrick Ward.
All those in favor signify aye.
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 Aye. Okay.
Aye.
Motion passes. Any public comment? No public comment.
No public.
Committee reports, communications.
So we met, yep, I'm here. September 9th, we met at the Tri-C Public Safety Village. Although most of it was online, I believe in the near future we'll be transitioning to that location because it's quite a nice large room and they have equipment to allow us to continue the online meetings. At the meeting we discussed CHASM. It's a resource for emergency management to track communications equipment. And North Royalton had some radios they were turning back into the county. As of, I think the last I heard was a week and a half ago, there were no takers on the old radios. And there was some discussion about making sure system owners are involved in planning for large events as they're most aware of the capabilities and limitations of the individual radio systems. And we did go over the interop template discussion we had here last meeting about once radios are programmed, that the individual communities need to reach out to the system owners to have them activated on the system. Our next meeting is ordinarily would be scheduled for November 11th, but we've moved it ahead a week to November 4th due to Veterans Day. And that's my report.
Any questions for Steve? Okay, hearing none. Steve, the one question I have is we have that Marks interoperable template. Are you aware, are the Cleveland system users going to do something similar?
Yes, they do. There is a template for Cleveland. It should be all part of that same countywide template that we developed. Once, if you're a primary Marks user, once that's programmed in your radio, you'll need to get in touch with Brad Hankey to have your IDs activated on the Cleveland system. If you need information about the template, I can certainly forward it to you.
Yeah, I'll talk to you offline. I have the Marks interoperability template, but there was a discussion we had with some of the specialty teams about the Cleveland side of things, but we can discuss that offline. Okay. Moving on, emergency management.
Hello, everybody. Emergency management subcommittee has not met recently, but a couple updates from.
Do you have an update?
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
You can now.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
All right. The Emergency Management Committee has not met recently, but I do have some updates from the Office of Emergency Management. Our EOC continues to operate in response to the COVID-19 issue, and concurrent to that, we continue to operate our PPE distribution center at the Harvard Garage. I think I mentioned last meeting that we are continuing to look for ways to scale back and do things as efficiently as possible. So beginning this week was where we scaled back additional time at the distribution center at the garage. So now it operates from 9 to 2 on Mondays and Thursdays. Obviously, again, we do all this to sort of catch a breather during times of relative peace, with the ability and awareness that we can scale back up very quickly if we need to, especially as we get toward the winter months. We also recently, with the presidential debates in town, we were happy to support the city of Cleveland with some of their efforts, including most notably some drone support as part of that operation. So that was an interesting experience for us, and I think we were happy to help do that for Cleveland and continue to look for ways that we can offer similar services to any other community or entity in the county that needs support like that, whether it's through helping to monitor a special event, or collecting damage information from an incident. The drones are proving very useful for us, and so again, I just mentioned that because it's intended to be a service for our partners that we can offer. The EOC will activate specifically, in addition to the COVID-19 activation, we will activate on November 3rd from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. roughly in support of our Board of Elections and their efforts around the election day. So we've already sent out some messaging to our external partners who we want to come into the space and work with us to ensure that efforts are run smoothly that day, and that if things do arise, we can respond to them quickly and efficiently. Two more quick points. I think I mentioned at the last CSAB that we were trying to schedule a COVID after action review midpoint Zoom call. We did, and then we rescheduled it since then. So now many of you are probably invited to participate on that call to sort of take a deeper dive into our experiences thus far in the response efforts. That call is scheduled for October 14th, 10, I believe 10 or 9. And so, we've already put out a survey to try to collect the larger the larger perspective from all of our response partners that have been involved in working with us for the past 7 or 8 months now. The purpose behind the actual AAR Zoom call is to sort of take a deeper dive into certain elements that we can, flesh out a little bit more specifically, and just make sure that if there's things that we can be improving upon or doing differently as things might spin back up again, we can identify them now in advance of that. The last thing I just want to mention is our emergency management accreditation program, Re-Accreditation, is rapidly approaching. Instead of an on-site assessment for 1 week, it'll be a 4-week-long virtual assessment. So I believe I mentioned this also during our last meeting, but I want to make sure everybody's aware of that, because the way the process works is that assessors will want to inquire and analyze different parts of our emergency management program, and that includes all of you as well, the partners that we rely upon for different resources and services. So you might be getting an email or a phone call from Kevin Fries or myself asking to participate in an interview, or contribute some sort of information to the assessment team during one of those 4 weeks over the course of the last week in October and into November. And that concludes my report. Any questions for me?
Yeah, I have a question. It's
Sure.
Richard Bain from Pepper Pike. I'm not certain where in this meeting this question would come up, but since Mark's on now, I thought I'd ask him. Mark, can you provide the group an update regarding the 911 situation that's going on as to where that stands?
Hey, this is Alex. I'll take this one. So what we've done, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So what we've done is we've been working with Motorola and AT&T since it started early yesterday. They've troubleshot and determined it's not emergency call works is causing the issue. It's AT&T. That's the theory at the moment. It's upstream, even without going super high tech in it. And Steve Green, if you want to jump in with some camera trunks and whatnot, they have been on a conference bridge for about 36 hours now working through. And as of right now, it's kind of status quo as they still try to diagnose it. There's not an answer at the moment. So the guidance is still, 911 calls are going through, but if you experience the echo, if you experience the issue, to call the local non-emergency number.
Oh, so the call, that's different than what I understood. So the 911 call actually will go through even with an echo?
So some will. It's an intermittent, and what you're seeing is an echo sense. So if I called, I would hear what I said just repeated to me. And then if I'm the dispatcher, I would hear myself answering it. So it's still sending the data. So they're able to treat it like a dropped call where they still have the number so they can call back the person if they call. So some are going through and with that issue, and some are going through fine. And what we found is it's affected landlines, cell phones, and VoIP. So we were trying to narrow it down at that point. And it's also affected Sprint, Verizon, AT&T. So that was able to narrow down that it wasn't a specific provider. The predominant theory is dealing with, a handoff onto the 911 network, but we're still waiting for AT&T and some more info.
Thank you very much, Alex. Appreciate it.
Problem.
Any other questions for emergency management? Okay, hearing none, EMS.
Thanks, Mike. Just a few items for EMS. We also helped out City of Cleveland EMS during the debates. We put together a task force in coordinates with County Fire Chiefs Association. We had two task force, one on the east side, one on the west side of the county. Luckily, we didn't need to deploy or use those services, but it was nice to work with Cleveland and come up with a plan, and they were very appreciative over those efforts. I recently received a email from Kevin Fries asking about our MCI annex. I know things have kind of gotten away. I know towards the end of the year last year, I thought that this was submitted to Maine CSEP for approval. I noticed it wasn't on the agenda and I should have reached out to you earlier. We could maybe look into this for the next meeting, but we'd like to adopt our MCI plan update, which was done late in 2019. I could reach to you offline on that, and Kevin, to get that document out to everybody to review and approve it at the next CSEB, if that's okay. So it was approved through the main CSEP? Okay, very good. I don't recall that off the top of my head. I know a lot of things have changed, so I'm glad that was taken care of. So thanks for looking into that, Kevin. Our last live meeting was on March 9th. I reached out to Nicole and Kevin, and we have a virtual meeting scheduled for November 9th of this year. Our protocol development committee, although they haven't been meeting, the medical directors, along with the Board of Health and Health Affairs and quite a few folks get together weekly on a COVID type huddle to talk about, all items relating to COVID and how we could, best utilize our services and protocols and stuff like that. But we are going to reconvene our protocol development committee. Next meeting is scheduled for October 26th at noon. So we're going to start looking at updated protocols in general instead of just COVID stuff. And I believe that concludes my report. Happy to answer any questions.
Hearing none, we'll move on to Fire Committee. Fire Committee met today at 10 o'clock via Zoom. It was our first meeting since all this whole COVID got kicked off. Brian Harding, I see you're online. Would you like to give a quick update for USAR? Okay. I can give you a quick update with USAR. I don't think Brian, for whatever reason, he's not logging in. They actually received some new confined space equipment via grants or communications equipment. So now the communications equipment for the USAR team is in line with the Hazmat teams. They have asked, which I know EMA or grants is looking into, due to COVID, the training has been held up for both Region 2 Water, Region 2 USAR and Hazmat. We're going to reallocate some of those funds for equipment that was approved in a later grant, move that forward, and then kind of just flip when they do the training with the equipment purchase. So I know Larry Tate may comment on that. Region 2 Water, again, is just waiting on some equipment. Again, they have not been able to do any real training. They haven't had a couple water rescues on both the east and west side of towns, and some body recoveries also on the east side and west side of towns this past summer. Hazmat gave a brief update. Again, training's been a little cumbersome. They just started their training again. They are actually working with Region 2 USAR and using the logistics truck to store some additional Hazmat equipment in some of the storage bins that USAR has. So that logistics truck with the tow motor will be able to support Hazmat operations across the county for more long duration type incidents. We also reviewed that Cleveland was still waiting their body armor from a USC grant that was used. That should be in hopefully by the end of this month. They're just waiting on some items. They wanted everything shipped at once instead of getting things piecemeal. So once we get that actually delivered to Lyndhurst, it will be inventoried here, set up here, and then we'll make arrangements to get it to the Cleveland Fire Department. And lastly, we discussed just a quick special operations quick reference guide, which will actually be distributed to all the fire departments across the county for special operations and mainly tech rescue. We've got some communications information in there, active shooter information. So that is something that the Fire Committee approved, which will again get distributed through the county fire chiefs, hopefully by the end of next week. And that's all Fire Committee has to report. And if anybody has any questions.
Hey, Chief, this is Alex. I just wanted to point out and say thank you to the USAR team, Brian Harding and yourself, for helping us deploy that tent for the debate that the Sheriff's Department used. Much appreciated, and a great example of regional assets being used regionally. So thank you.
Yes, that actually worked out really, really well. So yeah, thank you, Alex. Any others? Hearing none, health and medical.
Hi, everybody. This is Beth Gatlin from the Center for Health Affairs. The Health and Medical Committee did not meet. We actually canceled for lack of agenda items. I did get an email, though, this morning from Cynthia from the Grants Department. And so our FY17 UASI purchase, they're going to have like a call with the vendors. So we'll be involved with that in a couple weeks. So hopefully that's going forward. And, you know, some of that, that's the PPE call for those vendors. So as far as that, the health and medical group are still working COVID the majority of time. We're working with ODH yet for trying to figure out the vaccine distribution strategy. As far as we know right now from the CDC, you know, it's going to be the phased approach again for vaccine distribution. So phase 1A will be healthcare workers. Phase 1B will be those congregate care residents. So understanding that the highest risk is both healthcare workers and the elderly, those will be in the first priority group. They have not decided the other priority groups at this time. They're still kind of working through that. The state actually has to have a plan for vaccine distribution, I think sent into CDC by the end of the month. It could even be the middle of the month, but I think it's by the end of the month, they have to have some kind of a vaccine strategy. So we'll know more about that a little bit later. We are meeting with ODH on a vaccine strategy call once a week. So we learn a little bit more every week. Let me see. They're still trying to figure out who critical responders are and what the definition of critical responders are. You know, the vaccine, there seems, you know, they keep saying that there's going to be a lot of vaccine and they're figuring that the usual amount of people will probably take the vaccine. So, you know, every year only about 30% of people get flu shots. So they figure about the same, 30% of people will take the COVID vaccine. So there'll probably be plenty for everyone. I know that Kevin was going to send out a feeler to the fire departments to look at, you know, becoming either drive-through pods or, you know, to assist public health with some of those community-based vaccine areas, testing vaccine areas. Anyway, so just a little bit what's going on in the hospitals. So the hospitals are seeing just a slight increase in their positivity rates. Knowing that the holiday season is coming, Thanksgiving and Christmas, if the social mixing increases by about 20%, which it usually does over the holidays, we're looking at Cuyahoga County going back up over 150 cases a day through the end of the year at least. Right now, hospitals are not reporting any flu admissions. So this is a good time, a perfect time for everybody to get their flu shot and stay safe for that. So I think that's all I have. If in case anybody has any questions, Rebecca is also on. So if you have any questions for public health or hospitals.
Okay, hearing none. Actually, just one comment. I do know, Rebecca, that I was set up a meeting at the end of October for a cell pod just review. I'm not sure if it's something you'd be interested in participating in and or even just conference calling in, but representatives from South Euclid and Lyndhurst will be getting together to review our cell pod plan.
Yeah, that'd be great if you could let me know when those meetings are going to be. I can either try and join remotely or come out.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next, hearing nothing else for health and medical, law enforcement.
Hello, everyone. Chief Rapicki from University Circle. We have not met since March, but I do want to thank the county for more PPE distribution. Maybe someday we won't have to go there and pick it up anymore, but I don't know when that is going to be. And most of all, I want to thank everybody for the presidential debate on September 29th, Tuesday, including all the county that assisted, EMS, Cleveland Police and Fire, EMA, Fusion, EOC, and if I slighted anybody, you can mute me now. But it was a tremendous effort by all involved and minimal disturbances throughout the 2 days or day and a half that we were there. That's it, Mike.
Great, thank you, Chief. I'm glad everything went off without any major issues. So good job to all your agencies. You're right, it was very successful. Public Works.
Yeah, this is Dave Marquardt from the Cuyahoga County Department of Public Works. The only bit of information I have right now is that we have started a new storage building on our Harvard Road site to be used solely for the Emergency Operations Center to accept delivery of materials and then distribute those back out. We had some space on our site. It worked out well to get a contract for a contractor to get started constructing the building. We hope to be done by the end of the year, I believe, at this point. So it's about a 72-foot by 94-foot storage structure. So that's all I have.
Any questions for Public Works? Hearing none, grants report.
Hi, this is Leslie White with County Public Safety and Justice Services. I'm gonna attempt to share my screen here. Did you put it in there for me already?
It looks like it's up.
All right. Okay, thank you, Kevin. So one thing I did want to mention is that an email went out to the county fire chiefs on Tuesday regarding the Marks grant, and applications are due by November 6th. And if anyone is interested in that, we can definitely provide technical review and assistance if anyone's interested in applying. Dennis Wayna was listed as the contact in that, or you could reach out to me. So regarding USC 17, this grant was extended to August 30th of next year, and our fixed automated license plate reader system expansion project was approved by County Council on 9/29, and the installation of new sites is expected to begin at the end of the month and into November. Our radio project, I know everyone's anxiously awaiting this one. We're rebidding it, and it's been combined with the FY19 project. We did receive approval from Ohio EMA on the bid document yesterday, so the release date's been scheduled for 10/13. Our pre-bid conference on the 21st, and then it will close on 11/4. The helicopter downlink project for City of Cleveland. This is another one that EMA just approved the bid document, and we're working with OPD to schedule the bid release. I'm thinking it's going to be really close to the radio timeline. We're probably going to be looking at similar to that schedule. The EOC video wall, the formal bid was re-released on 10/7. The pre-bid will be on the 15th, and then that will close on the 29th. Next one. So continuing with UASC, this one is a mouthful. We have two portable tablet-based explosive device ordnance disposal X-ray systems for Cleveland Bomb. The bid closed on the 10th. Our subject matter expert did approve the low bid, and it's now with Ohio EMA for approval. Health and Medical mentioned the PAPR filters. That one's going to be released this month, and it will close early next month. Our rescue strats for USAR, the bid closed on 9/28. Our subject matter expert did approve the low bid, and so that's with Ohio EMA for approval as well. We have the Sheriff's Department dive trailer. The SME approved the low bid yesterday, and so we'll get this one down to Ohio EMA for approval as well. Switching over to State Homeland 17, this grant ends May 31st of next year. Our 2 portable X-ray processors for Cleveland Bomb, we only received 1 bid on this, which for a grant purchase, that's considered insufficient competition. So we're working with OPD to get this project rebid. The chemical analyzer, the bid was released on the 18th. We'll have our pre-bid conference on the 28th, or I'm sorry, this was last month. Pre-bid conference was on the 28th of last month, and this one closes next week. The Confined Space Hardline communication system, as they mentioned earlier in fire, this project's complete. And the 4 gas generator project for USAR, that's complete as well. The technical search specialist training for USAR is scheduled for the 20th through the 22nd this month. And then, so this was kind of brought up a little bit already, the water search training. If you recall from last month, there were several training projects that we're looking to move in order to have time to complete them. And so the Region 2 EMA directors did approve moving this water search training to 19, and now we're working with Ohio EMA on the approval as well. The hazmat sustainment supplies, at the last meeting, we mentioned 4 out of 8 of the projects were complete. So now those 4 remaining projects, we're just going through the process of getting the POs approved and issuing them to the vendors. So we're very close on those as well. The hazmat special ops training, the original training was canceled due to COVID. So this money we're looking at reassigning to the area ray gamma combination multi-gas and radiation detector replacement, and we'll go through that one once we get to 18. So FY18 for State Homeland, this grant ends on March 31st next year. The CBRN communication headsets for RTA, this purchase was recently approved by the County Board of Control, and the PO was sent to the vendor on the 6th. The hazmat sustainment supplies. So when we were purchasing supplies this year against the 17 grant, that's when we discovered that the sensors for the area ray gamma gas and radiation detectors have been discontinued. So we've combined the sustainment and supply money that was on the 18 grant, along with that $2,000 that we were just mentioning on the 17, to move forward with replacing the detectors. And we're going to work with the SME to get specs and get this out to bid in November. So still on 18, the USAR training and exercise and the hazmat training and exercise. Again, these are the projects that we were talking about moving on to 19 to have time to complete them. The Ohio Region 2 EMA directors approved that, and now we're working with Ohio EMA on the approval. And then our EMS mass casualty trailer supply replacement, the drafted specs were sent to the subject matter expert for review on 10/1. On State Homeland 19, so this one will look different next time, because here we've got our radio project that we mentioned that the bid's about to be released next week. And this is the project that we're going to move to 18 in order to move the training and exercise to 19. The hazmat sustainment supplies, since we just completed purchasing sustainment supplies with the 17 grant, we'll bid these out in August of 21. And then our hazmat training, it's still to be scheduled, and it needs to be completed by August 31st of 21. Okay, switching gears to State Homeland Law Enforcement. For 17, The next steps here will be finalizing the grant and closing out, and all projects have been reimbursed by Ohio EMA. There's only just over $1,700 left on this grant. So we're in a great place there. Can move to 18. For LE 18, we have our heavy plate and carrier project for RTA that's complete. Our vehicle barriers and hauler for Cleveland Metro Parks, the PO was issued back in July, and we're just awaiting the ship date on those. We have Caseware software, Memex software for the Fusion Center, and both of those projects are complete. And the data exchange and interoperability for the city of Cleveland is also complete. Okay. Move to the next one. So for FY19 on LE, the only project we had for Cuyahoga County were the plates and carriers for RTA, and that project's complete. It was split across 2 grant years. Right, next one. So looking forward at FY20, the guidance and grant agreements are scheduled to be released on 10/16, with applications being due to Ohio EMA on 12/18. So we're requesting that CSAB meet on or before 11/5 if there's a desire to reconsider the projects that were submitted. And the next 2 slides that we'll go through show the state Homeland and LE projects that were sent to the state back in February with our investment justification. So if you could go to the next one. So this is the state Homeland IJ, and these are the projects as they were prioritized by the Region 2 EMA directors, and then highlighted in Go Browns Orange, we have the Cuyahoga County projects. So, oh, can you go back one for me? Well, and then this one is our LE, the same thing here. These are the projects that the LETPP committee prioritized. Thank you. So that way you can see the projects that move forward for Cuyahoga County highlighted in orange. And I don't know if there's any interest in rediscussing projects, or if you guys are good with sticking with the projects you approved back in late winter.
Anybody have any comments on reprioritization? I think looks good as we submitted. I don't think we need to really meet unless someone else does.
Hey, Leslie, what's the end date on this grant? The performance period? Do you know that off the top of your head?
I don't.
Alex, this is Mary Beth. Actually, we have
Say
not
that
been
again?
provided that
I
information
know
yet.
they moved them around a little bit, and they've changed state Homeland's end date over the last couple of years.
I would assume that the FY20 is going to go through December 31st of 2022, but I don't, until we get the guidance, I don't think we have the end date yet. Does anyone have any questions about any of the project status or our investment justification projects?
Carol, I think with us having a couple of years, if we're not done with COVID by the time we can do exercises in the end of 22, we'll know that a little sooner, but I think we should move forward with the way they are.
I agree. Okay, so we will move forward as submitted. Anything else from grants?
Thank you.
Okay, any agency liaisons that are online? would like to submit a report. Kevin, you may be able to run through. I know LEPC is one of them.
Yes,
MMRS.
this is Alan Finkelstein. I do have to let you know the LEPC is still around. Our last in-person meeting was in March, and we had an online meeting last September where we addressed spills that had occurred in Cuyahoga County. The numbers are down, primarily hydrocarbon related. And we also have addressed the grants that the LEPC gets and makes use of for the hazmat teams and for other uses. Our annual county hazmat exercise that we do for the state of Ohio was postponed. Originally it was scheduled in May, but because of COVID, everything was put on hold, and we're still in the process of trying to determine whether we're going to try to get an exercise in. We are allowed to use a tabletop, which we might do. We might try to do it online. That decision has not been made. We are expecting to have a couple of new members added from a couple of new agencies, from Cleveland State, possibly Department of Transportation. And we also are trying to get some information about the HMEP grant, the projects that we had set aside money for. Obviously, the training components had to be modified, and we're still looking into that. We haven't gotten full details yet from the state about what the extended closing dates might be for most of those projects. And that's my report for LEPC.
Yeah. Any questions for LEPC? Hearing none. NeoRams. Okay, no report for NeoRams. COAD.
Hey, Chief, Brian Plus, you got a copy on me?
Yeah.
Okay, quick NeoRams report. Nothing too significant other than, as everybody knows, due to COVID, recreational has actually gone up this summer. So there has been an increase in fatalities and issues on the water. Maritime is still continuing to monitor and patrol to the best of their ability. Some patrols have been reduced, but there is still a law enforcement presence on the water. They will continue to meet with NeoRams virtually throughout the year, currently planning for the NFL draft, and continuing to utilize that communications plan we established last year, and that is still continuing to improve response. So any questions for NeoRams?
Okay, hearing none. Any old business? New business. We have on the agenda the Radiation Nuclear Annex and the Structural Collapse Annex. In reviewing the Structural Collapse Annex myself, Kevin, you want to comment on those? Because I know that these Structural Collapse is an old document. It probably needs to be gone through by Brian Hardy and his team.
Kevin, for the structure collapse, just a heads up, Public Works is aware and currently updating a list of bridges, their current status, and they'll add that to the annex as well.
Second.
Out of the plans, Kevin motioned to move or postpone the approval of the structural collapse annex due to the fact Public Works is updating contact information and actual bridge status because that document was updated several years ago. So the status of the bridges has actually changed as far as their structural integrity. So they're going to update that annex with that current information as well as current contact information. So Kevin motioned, I don't know if he can or
we don't have to vote on that. Just pull it. You can pull it from the agenda. It's fine.
Yay.
All right, yeah, I was just thinking we're just gonna pull that one. I'm asking about the nuclear annex. Does anybody have any comments about the nuclear annex? Because if not, I'll be looking for a motion to approve the nuclear annex as submitted by the county.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Anyone?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed? Perfect. The only other new business I have is I'm going to be putting together an ad hoc committee made up of some members from CSEB for the purposes of looking for a location for specialty team equipment, USAR, water, LE. You know, we had some options in the past that just didn't work out. And this is still a great need for those specialty teams across the county. I did talk to Board of Health, but it sounds like they got themselves dialed in pretty well with the RTA garage. So I'll be reaching out to LE to try to get a contact to work on this committee. I know Brian Kloss is going to be interested in work on this committee, as well as Brian Harding, Mark Bender from Water, probably Mark Better from Hazmat. And they're going to explore and put together a plan for options for housing the specialty team equipment and any other additional storage needs they may have. So if anybody's got any questions about that, hearing none, thank everybody for the meeting. I just need a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second. Thank you, Laura.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Have a great day, guys.